Hey everyone, here we are with Joy Workout number 53. I think it's going to be a big one today. I've just processed through a difficult emotional experience and actually got to the other side of it. I was working on it for a couple of days and I got to the other side. Yay! So I'm going to read you a poem about that. But in the context of that, I want to also talk about spirituality. And yesterday I brought up the elements of joy-based living and specifically talked about life. I want you to think about that painting, I think the Michelangelo painting where there's a man's hand reaching up for God's hand. And I've always kind of asked myself in the realm of spirituality and my own heart and mind, does God know when we suffer? It's a really big question. Maybe I've always been a rabbi. Maybe I've always been Reverend Sassy Shorts. Does God know? And I don't presume to know the answer. I have some thoughts about it right now that I think might be helpful as we are standing stronger in the light of who we are, the true self. And so I started to see God as the sunlight, which of course, that's what this is, right? God is the sunlight. And if the sun were to come closer to the earth in order to help a plant grow, what would happen? It would burn it, totally burn it. If a bird wasn't allowed to like hatch outward, it wouldn't gain the strength. I've heard it said, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it said, if you try to like break open an egg for a chicken or something, a baby chick, that they'll die. I don't know if that's true, but I do know if the sun was like closer to help a plant, we'd all fry, right? So the plant has to reach up. So now let's take that to another perspective. When I think about, we have different words for it. We have God, love, the universe, the source, the life force, the field of love, whatever you want to call it. I think it's real important to recognize it as something that has a life force behind it. So it brings things to life. It helps create things. It's generative, and it lives not just outside of us like the sun, but it lives inside of us. This is important for this conversation, for this spiritual conversation. So if you imagine that hand, reaching up, for us as humans, it's a reaching upward vibrationally. When we think about the emotional chart, like reaching for joy, reaching for that, that's what we're doing every time we climb into stronger, greater, more beautiful, more profound states of feeling and states of being. So I'd like to read you the poem that I wrote that helped me to heal. Wait, there was one more thing. I knew there was something else. There's one more thing. Gary Zukav, in his book, Seed of the Soul, and in his interview with Oprah, he talked about the soul being like a mothership, and like you have this fleet of ships within you. And when they're focused on the mothership, when they're focused on that mothership, they're all in unison. They're all together. They're not all going in different directions. And the steadfastness of that focus is what keeps that feeling of alignment and integrity and strength within oneself. When I protect myself from something that could be traumatic, that's what I'm protecting. I'm protecting the unity within my being. I'm protecting the all of me reaching up toward a higher state, a higher feeling. So I wrote a poem about that as well, but this is a very short poem. This one's on a building block, and then I'll read you the long poem about healing trauma. It says, "The fleet in me," I'll put it close here, "the fleet in me is steadfast on thee," is steadfast like on the mothership, is steadfast on thee. My soul is happy, and I am free. The fleet in me is steadfast on thee. My soul is happy, and I am free. Hope you're still with me here. I'm working it, man. Bridging a lot of pieces, but they all matter to each other. Okay, so here's the poem that I wrote that was helping me heal. I had a lot of tension back here yesterday from stuff that I was holding, and it was in my stomach. It was in my stomach and on my shoulders. Pretending it's not happening, pretending everything's fine for the sake of people pleasing is the very thing that perpetuates hurt. Pretending it's not happening, pretending everything's fine for the sake of people pleasing is the very thing that perpetuates hurt. Sometimes the silence gets deafening and suffocating. Sometimes I must speak my piece. Cognitive dissonance, that nagging feeling of something's off, is not acceptable. Disconnection from myself is not okay in my world. Cognitive dissonance, that nagging feeling of something's off, is not acceptable. Disconnection from myself is not okay in my world. Fierce loyalty to my values is my compass. I cherish my values. They save me, they protect me, they guide me. We are doing our best. I love you so much. A half unfolded flower in the process of blossoming is gorgeous to me. With words, you said, I don't want you to feel guilty. But without words, you said, please be quiet. You're making me very uncomfortable. With words, you said, I don't want you to feel guilty. Without words, you said, please be quiet. You're making me feel very uncomfortable. At first, I felt stunned. Then I felt really guilty. Right now, I'm angry with a big fongu. Pride is rising up. I can release all these in exchange for the love for higher values. I can release all these in exchange for the love for higher values, including courage, freedom of expression, kindness, willingness, and most of all, the cherishing of the true self, giving it the oxygen it needs to breathe and to thrive. And most of all, the cherishing of the true self, giving it the oxygen it needs to breathe and to thrive. The tension in my upper back and in my belly released just now. I'm freeing myself from the binds. I am taking flight, and it feels so good. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for growing together with me on this journey of joy-based living. Bye for now.